My name is Marty Spang. I'm a Biotech fellow at Yale Ventures. I'm also helping to co-moderate this session with Anier. You're here for the reverse pitch for non-dilutive funding. So we're really excited to have everyone here today. We're really excited for our round of speakers. To kick things off then, I'm going to introduce, I wish I had my notes. I wish I had better notes. Stephanie from the America's Seed Fund, NIH Seed and NIH Small Business Program. So Stephanie, you have your slides up. Please take it away. We'd love to hear more about the program. Thank you.
Perfect. And hopefully you can hear me okay. If I can get a quick thumbs up.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. All right. Hello, everyone. Happy to kick this off. As was noting, my name is Stephanie Fertig. I'm the director of the NIH Small Business Program here within the National Institutes of Health. And today I want to talk a little bit about how you can utilize the funding at the National Institutes of Health to help you fund your grant using America's Seed Fund. Now, there's a number of things we're going to talk about today. These are quick reverse pitches, so I do encourage you to go to our website, seed.nih.gov, if you need additional information or there's something I said and you want to dive in further. So what are we talking about today? Well, the NIH mission really can be summarized as turning discoveries into health, and we utilize our small business program to take great innovations from across the country and get them into the hands of the patients, clinicians, caregivers, and researchers that need them. So our small business programs, which are congressionally mandated programs, provide $1.4 billion of dedicated funding to small businesses to engage in research and development that have the potential for commercialization. Now, this is one of the largest sources of early stage capital for life sciences in the United States. Commonly, these are known as the SBIR and STTR program. Federal government loves acronyms, but we're really moving towards calling them the America's Seed Fund because that's what we're doing. We're really seeding some of those early companies. Now, there are two distinctive programs, SBIR and STTR. The big difference between the two, the SBIR program allows companies to partner. The STTR requires partnering with a U.S. research institution, a nonprofit research institution, like an academic institution. So why do we call it America's Seed Fund? Well, we call it America's Seed Fund because it's really in that seed funding space. If you look at the life science of a life cycle of a company, we're really in that early stage, even before sometimes angel investors, certainly before venture capital or partners. This is not a loan. It's non-dilutive capital. We don't take part of your company, and we really help give that seed funding to help awardees leverage and de-risk and attract investors and partners. That's our whole goal. We anticipate that many of our companies aren't just going to be able to use our funds to go all the way to commercialization. We want to get you to an inflection point where you can hopefully attract that investor or partner to take you the rest of the way. So the program is a little bit complicated. It has a phased program, not clinical trial phases, an unfortunate similarity of the nomenclature. I'm not going to go into every detail here. What I am going to say is this. There are multiple ways to enter into the program based on how far along a specific technology is in its development. So we do support feasibility. We also support further research and development, and we can allow companies, depending upon how far along they are, come into the program, get that support, and then we have a number of programs that help bridge the gaps to get you to commercialization, that provides additional support or additional commercialization support through those programs. So I put this here to say it's a flexible program, but it can be complicated. So reaching out and talking to us, and we do really encourage that, is often the first best step you can take. The second flexibility that we have is around the budget guidelines. So you see there are guidelines here. They're set by the Small Business Administration, but we can exceed these amounts for specific topic areas. We recognize clinical trials, for example, just going to require more money and more time, and we can support that too. So again, it may have a lot of pieces, but it is a very flexible program. And you're going to hear that from some of my other colleagues who talk about the different programs at the different individual institutes and centers across NIH, because NIH is really made up of multiple institutes and centers that are specific to a specific disease area or a specific body system or a specific technology area. And multiple institutes have a small business program, and they utilize those programs to help support what makes the most sense within their mission space. So when we're talking about how to get access to funding, the majority of our funding does go through what we call investigator-initiated grant applications. So what is that? You see that problem out there in the community, you have a solution to that problem, and you come in and tell us problem, solution. It's not driven so much by us and us pointing out a specific problem. We have 3 standard receipt dates a year. The next standard receipt date is September 5th. I will go back and say, if you click on, because you'll see that there's open funding opportunities. One of the things that you'll note with those open funding opportunities is right now, you'll find that we don't have any open funding opportunities. We do have a number of funding opportunities that have been what we call forecasted. And so what that means is that's us saying, hey, we are going to have these funding opportunities. We have a number of funding opportunities that are forecasted that are what we call our parent announcements. That's, again, for those investigator-initiated grant applications. So you come in and tell us that great idea that you have that falls within our mission space. So I would encourage you, it's kind of a coming soon section. I would say definitely take a look in the very near future, and you'll be able to see what our current open funding opportunities are. But the most important piece of advice I can leave you all with, other than, definitely check out the website, is to talk to a program officer at least a month before the application deadline. That's a really important thing to do. I would check out the different small business funding considerations and contacts. You can find those on our website. Look for the very nice picture of NIH, Building 1, and you can see those different funding contacts. And you're going to hear again from several of the different institutes and centers today, and they're going to be able to talk to you about their different funding considerations. What are their specific topics? What are the things that fall within their individual mission space? I glossed over this because I wanted to make sure there were plenty of times, and again, this is supposed to be a fairly quick reverse pitch. But each institute and center does have that specific mission focus. So even if they say to you, hey, this is outside of our mission, that doesn't mean it's not important. It might mean it's literally just outside of their mission space. It's covered by another institute or another part of HHS. If you're not sure who to contact, so you look at this long list of institutes and centers, or you're not sure, do I fall under complementary integrative health or the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences? I'm just not sure. That's okay. There's a couple of different ways that you can determine where you're likely to be assigned. And it's important to know where you're going to be assigned because each institute and center, as I said, has different funding priorities, has different things that they're looking for to meet their mission space. So the first thing you can do is you can email seedinfo@nih.gov. You can always email us. That's the email address to our office. Happy to have you ask us any questions if you provide a brief description of what the project is on. But the second thing is the NIH Reporter. So if you go to NIH Reporter, that actually has a list of all the different projects that we have supported in the past. And that can be helpful for two reasons. One, it helps you determine where you're going to be assigned. But two, who else is working in this area? Has someone else proposed something similar to what I'm proposing? It's great for that research to kind of flesh out, hey, who else has been working in an area like this? So I would encourage you to take a look at that. Those are some resources that you can really utilize, and it'll help with the program. I'm trying to keep it short and sweet. The last thing I will state is really do utilize the website. What I didn't go into was the review process, the application process. I do say we don't take a piece of the company. We don't require that you pay it back, but this is the federal government. We do require paperwork. And so there is a significant amount of paperwork involved to submit. There are registrations, there are requirements. But the good news is on our website, we do have resources available. We have sample applications. We have different tools. We have instruction sets. There are ways that you can get what you need in order to successfully complete the submission process. And it is a competitive process, but what you're going to hopefully hear about today is we are very approachable. We're here to talk you through that process and help you out. And certainly don't want anyone to be discouraged. We want you to feel as though you can come, you have the resources you need, and we want to see those great ideas across the country. And so I'm going to end there. I always like to have plenty of time for questions and for meeting people later, but happy to pass it along to the next person.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Round of applause. That was a great introduction to kind of the NIH and the SBIR funds. I forgot to go over a couple ground rules as I was clearly very well prepared for this event. We're going to hold all Q&A until after the event. Similar to all the reverse pitches, we'll have breakout rooms afterwards.
Silent for us.
What was whose? Sorry, that was a weird noise. Unmute. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Excellent. It is not just me.
I'm so sorry, Stephanie. They give you a round of applause. Can we give her another round of applause? Thank you. Thank you for cutting me off, and thank you for your patience. Technical issues that we're always working through every time. Thank you, Stephanie, for a great overview of the NIH Seed Fund. We have a couple of other folks from NIH here that will go through their particular portfolio and their interests as well. As I was saying, please hold Q&A for afterwards. We'll have a couple breakout rooms where you can meet with the speakers individually and ask questions from there, similar to all the other reverse VC pitches and other sessions. So up next, we have Ethan Sarnowski from the NIA. Ethan, please take it away. The room is yours.
All right. Thank you for the invitation. Please let me know if audio or visual doesn't work out. But my name is Ethan Sarnowski. I am the Senior Program Advisor for the Development and Testing of Interventions Targeting Aging Mechanisms at the NIA, which I know is quite the mouthful. In this role, I focus largely on drug development. So I want to focus in a little bit on drug development for the presentation today. Now, I'm going to try and take sort of a broad overview of non-dilutive funding at the NIH for drug development. And so, brief disclaimer, I'm going to be talking about some programs that I'm not directly responsible for. And I encourage you all to go visit the websites as you learn about these to get the most up-to-date information available. What I've tried to do as a starting point is lay out the process of drug development from that early target identification and validation all the way up through the clinical stages, and synthesize on this slide as simply as possible where 80-90% of the time are you going to look for funding to perform that action coming from the NIH. And I think most folks in the room will be familiar with the more research-oriented grants, R21s, R01s, as great starting points for early-stage drug discovery. And Stephanie, and I think some of the other upcoming colleagues have and will cover small business grants quite well. So what I want to spend the few minutes that I have today on is actually this other archetype, this other set of programs that actually before coming to the NIH in 2024, I didn't know existed, but really would have liked to, that are specifically designed for funding drug development as a special category of research. So these programs, they are largely independent of one another, and they have sprung up across several NIH institutes. Some of the common characteristics, this isn't the case in for all of them, but some common characteristics is that by and large, they tend to differ from small business grants in that they can support both small business entities as well as not-for-profit entities. They tend to be milestone driven, that is, funding is dispersed as you go along your set of success criteria toward developing a therapeutic. And they're also specifically tailored to support therapeutics development. For example, some of their funding amounts will be more driven by what does it actually take to go from a lead to a candidate, for example. On this slide, I have some of the more prominent programs out there. I actually built this specifically to highlight the programs that can be used for therapeutics targeting aging-related conditions, just because of my seat within the National Institute on Aging. So it's not exhaustive, but I think can give an example of the types of programs that are out there and might be a useful resource for you to reference if you are a drug developer. One potentially helpful caveat as you look to understand these programs is because they've sprung up institute by institute, as I mentioned before, there isn't a program for every single disease indication one could imagine. For example, and maybe some of my colleagues from the NIH later may even mention some of these, there are programs at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke that are great for drug development within their mission area. There's other similar programs within the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. Again, great for programs there. So there's a variety of these programs. They may not match your particular stage of drug development or your particular therapeutic area that you're working in. If you're looking to find one, though, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat with you about it. Just to illustrate some of the characteristics of these programs, I picked out a few of the recently funded drug development programs from the National Institute on Aging's Alzheimer's Drug Development Program, which is, by its name, specific to Alzheimer's disease, where programs starting from hit to lead, that is fairly early in their medicinal chemistry journey, to lead to candidate, where they perhaps have demonstrated proof of concept in an animal model. Through milestone-driven mechanisms, they have been funded on the order of $6 to $8 million, really advancing those programs substantially as they continue to hit milestones and make quantitative progress toward bringing a drug to the clinic. Now, that's just a brief overview of programs that I hope folks will now be aware of and think about for their future research funding. One other thing I wanted to ask of this group is if you are a drug developer targeting an aging-related condition, we recently put out a request for information that will be open until July 1st. If these programs aren't sufficient for you, or if you'd like to see something specific, please respond to this request for information and let us know what we can do better to help you in your funding journey or in your drug development journey. And if you have any questions, I am more than happy to chat with you in the future. Here is my contact information.
Thank you, Ethan. Round of applause, please. All right, I'm sure you heard it that time. I got there just in time. All right. Next up, from Medical Technology Enterprise Consortium, also known as MTech, we have Chuck Huddy. If you can go ahead and please share your screen. Thank you. Take it away, Chuck.
Thank you so much for having me today. So yes, I'm Dr. Chuck Huddy with the Medical Technology Enterprise Consortium. I'm the Senior Technical Program Manager with the consortium. Let's see if I can get, there we go. So MTech is a nonprofit technology consortium that collaborates with the Department of Defense or the Department of War and most of the U.S. Armed Forces in helping to advance medical technologies that can improve the health and readiness of our warfighters. Really, we span quite a lot of different technology areas, and the OTA, the other transaction agreement that we work under, is not normally thought of when academic universities are thinking about funding. So I do want to point that out. We are one tool in the toolbox that the government uses to get funding extramurally. That's what the OTAs are designed for. And our specific OTA does have a military tilt. We have 6 major focus areas within our consortium: military infectious disease, combat casualty care, operational medicine, training and simulation, clinical rehabilitative medicine, and chemical and biological threats. Over the last 10 years, we've put out about $1.6 billion worth of non-dilutive funding for projects in these different areas, about 400 different awards. I'll talk a little bit more about them later. If you have any questions on anything, we do have QR codes on this slide deck. Feel free to take pictures. We also do have this slide deck posted to our LinkedIn, so you can definitely take a look at that as well. So over the last 10 years, we put out $1.6 billion. What really great about this as well is that a lot of our awardees are able to leverage that award money into follow-on funding, either from other government agencies like the NIH or from dilutive partners like venture capitalists to help bring their technologies to commercialization. So to date, it's about $1.2 billion worth of follow-on funding for those 400 awarded projects. Generally speaking, our government sponsors tend to fund within the TRL 4 to 7 range. So that's the technology readiness level. We specifically operate under a prototype other transaction agreement. So that means that anything that we fund has to at least meet a prototype or an experimental proof of concept level, a TRL 3. Generally, if you've kind of gone through some product development in the past, you know that the TRL 4 to 7 range is generally a pretty difficult and risky endeavor. We're talking about preclinical trials, clinical trials, FDA clearance studies, validation and verification studies. All of those are risky, time-consuming, and costly. But the government sees it as an opportunity to invest in innovative, novel technologies that are really going to push the boundaries of what the next best technology is, and fund those technologies through those difficult stages to a point where you're de-risked enough for traditional investment to come in and bring you to commercialization. And so this has been very successful for both academics and non-traditional defense contractors. More than 3/3 or 3/4 of our awardees are non-traditionals, and about 100 of them go to higher educations as prime contractors, with dozens more higher education academic universities as subcontractors on our awards. So there is a large interest from the government in finding those innovative cells of technology development that generally do happen at the academic level or the small business level, and bringing and funding them to help bring them up to a commercialization standard. Now, we don't have a ton of time, so I am going to kind of skip to the meat of what is of interest to you guys. So we do have a few upcoming funding topics. We put out about 10 to 12 solicitations per year. They're all ad hoc. It depends on when the military sponsors have funding and a particular topic area of interest, and then we work with them to actually post that solicitation. So one pre-announcement that was actually posted today, like maybe an hour ago, is the primer and probe manufacturing platform. So looking for nucleotide primers and probes manufacturing, specifically in a far forward, austere environment. If you're interested in that, please let me know. But we have a number of other topic areas that will be coming live within the next month or 2 months' time. So definitely be on the lookout. Again, you can follow us on LinkedIn for additional updates. And then the last thing I do want to mention is that we do have an annual membership meeting. So this is coming up in just a few weeks. Yale is a member, so anyone on campus is allowed to come and participate. It's a free conference. You just have to pay for flight, room, and board. But one of the great things about this conference is it does allow you to interact with the military sponsors that are funding these efforts. So we invite all of our funders to come, and they give presentations on what their current and upcoming priorities are. They have Q&A sessions afterwards. They're walking around in full dress uniform. So if you have a technology that you're interested and you think the military would be interested in, you can come to the conference and kind of find the right person to talk to and then see what they think about it. They can give you guidance on what the best development path is for your technology as well. So please, if you're interested in coming to the conference, it'll be in DC. We would love to have you. And with that, I will kind of pass it over to any of the other speakers. Definitely feel free to reach out with any questions you have. There's my contact as well as our Chief Science Officer on the screen now, but would love to stick around and chat. So thank you so much for having me and look forward to talking to you all.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeff. So at this point, we're going to be transitioning. So we've had 3 virtual speakers at this point. Now we have 3 to 4 lined up for in-person. So as we pull those up, just bear with us for a few minutes. As well as we're also going to have a transition of speakers. So I'll be handing it off to my colleague, Anier. I'm still trying to buy a few more seconds as we frantically get the slides up. And then if Linda Zane, if you could step up here, or introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anier. I'm a project manager on the Biotech team. Linda is from the National Cancer Institute.
And I just do that.
One second. That was the wrong thing.
Cheer, and then we can switch the output. That's because these are room DC2, so we want to switch those to room DC1. Yep, that's the one. There we go, and there we go. If that's right.
Okay. Thanks for your patience.
Okay. So I am good afternoon, everyone. I am a program director at the National Cancer Institute Small Business Innovation Research Development Center. And at NCI, we have a budget of about $200 million. And last year, we funded about 350 projects. And we are pretty much project like technology agnostic. We fund some diagnostic, therapeutic, digital health, research tool, anything that is in the cancer space. And we support startups through stage funding. Stephanie talked about it. So the phases are not to be mistaken with clinical trial phases. So the phase 1 grants are for proof of concept studies to establish the project feasibility. Phase 2 grants are to significantly advance the translational development of your product. And we also have something called the fast track, which combine phase 1 and phase 2 to avoid like the funding gap between the two type of grants. It's a streamlined pathway for projects that are ready to go quick. And we also have some direct to phase 2 grant if you already have some established the feasibility, you can apply for this direct to phase 2 grant. And historically, it's going to be different for the September 5th deadline. It has not been published, but it's going to be higher than, we anticipate that it's going to be higher than it used to be. And so in September, like in the past, phase 1 were about $400,000 for NCI, phase 2, $2.25 million. And so for a fast track, it's $2.65 million. And we also have some post-phase 2 funding opportunity to support late-stage development and commercialization readiness. And Stephanie talked about it. It's the Commercialization Readiness Pilot Program, the Phase 2B Strategic Breakthrough Award, and the amount of money is much higher. And again, keep in touch. Soon it will be published. But for the Strategic Breakthrough Award, it's a matching fund program. So it's much more money, but you need to have matching fund from private fund. And so if you want to know if your project is a good fit for NCI, you are more than welcome to contact us. We are just 10 program directors. We are very approachable. We love talking to entrepreneurs and hear about your cool technology. So don't hesitate to contact us. And to ensure a productive meeting, it's good if you can write a specific aims page so we can review it before our meeting. And so the specific aims page should include basically, first you start with which unmet need you are trying to address, what is your solution, what is your product, and what is the innovation, how it compares to what is currently on the market. And and what are the competitive advantages. And then you talk about, okay, with the funding, what will you do? How will you advance your, the development of your technology? And so for each specific aim, you have to mention what you are going to do, how you plan on doing it, and why you are doing that. And for each specific aim, you need to finish with some quantitative milestones, some success criteria that will make you move to the next step. And then you finish the specific aims page by talking about what you will do next. If you get the funding, if you succeed, you accomplished all your milestones, what you will do next, so we can see that you have a long-term plan. And I will finish. We are very limited with time. We at NCI SBIR, we are more than just a funding institute. We also have a lot of commercialization resources. I mentioned some of them on the slide. We have the peer learning and networking webinar. They are like webinar. We ask some successful entrepreneur that we funded to talk, to give, like to present. We have different topics. So one of them, like some previous topic, it was how to write a good specific aims page, or keys to a successful IND, or how to write a strong commercialization plan. We had very different topics. We have the NCI SBIR training and entrepreneurship program, which is an application assistance program for people who are not used to apply for SBIR STTR grant, who never received SBIR grant. We can help you. We have this application assistance program combined with an ICORP training, which is an entrepreneurial immersion training. And we also have something called the NCI Investor Initiative, where we connect our awardees to investors, and we pay for them to go to meeting and pitch their technology. And we have the industry mentoring and assistance program, but we also have like direct connection with FDA, where we connect our company to FDA, et cetera, et cetera. And I would like to say that, and I'm going to stop here because we are limited with time, but at NCI, there are also other programs outside of SBIR that also have some funding for technology development. We have the next program. It's not a funding program, but they can help you to clinically develop your therapeutic. We have the academy industry partnership that is done by that is managed by my colleague. We have a bunch of programs. So I will highly recommend you to reach out to us. And again, if you are not sure if it's a good fit, I can also connect you with my colleague in other institutes or with my colleague in other division who have maybe a funding opportunity that will be a better fit for you.
Next, we're going to have Emily Caparello from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Strokes.
Thank you. Okay, you've heard from a few different institutes at NIH so far. I'm Emily. I lead our small business program at NINDS. NINDS is the Neurological Disorders Institute at NIH. And you've heard about SBIR and STTR funding. At NINDS, we utilize this funding to support the development of products in our mission space. This includes drugs, devices, diagnostics, digital health technologies, tools for clinicians and researchers. And we support a broad range of developmental stages, from very early stage drug discovery and prototyping through early stage clinical trials. Any neurological indication that's in our mission space is within scope, as is neuroscience research. Overall, NINDS oversees roughly $100 million in small business funding per year, which makes it the largest single source of seed funding for neuroscience companies. Our program has priorities for new companies to SBIR and STTR funding. We seek novel and innovative technologies that will have strong commercial potential, and those that will meet needs in our mission space, such as rare neurological disorders and other small markets. Stephanie went through the different phases of SBIR funding, and NINDS does participate in these later stages, such as Phase 2B in the commercialization readiness pilot. As Stephanie mentioned, institutes have certain waiver topics where we can exceed the maximum award amounts recommended by the SBA. So overall award sizes can range from around $250K in proof of concept to up to roughly $3 million. We support SBIR and STTR applications that come in through the parent funding opportunities, which are listed there. Those are forecasts for the funding opportunities that we anticipate will be published soon for a September 5th receipt date, and we do accept clinical trials. I also want to point out that NINDS leads and participates in a number of cooperative agreement programs for translational research and clinical trials. This includes the NIH Blueprint Neurotherapeutics Network, Blueprint MedTech, the Translational Neural Devices Program, the NINDS Biomarkers Program, and 2 clinical trial networks, NeuroNext and StrokeNet. These programs are not specific to small businesses, but small businesses can apply alongside academic investigators. And these programs provide more than just funding. They provide access to NINDS-funded infrastructure, in-kind resources, and dedicated expertise. At NINDS, our goal is to help support neurotechnologies and neuroscience companies to get successfully over this period of early commercial development, fondly known as the Valley of Death. This is a period of early stage commercial development where there is often a lack of funding and the work is very high risk. And unfortunately, many technologies that sort of launch out of the lab don't make it over to the other side of either commercialization or moving to sources of private funding. SBIR is an important source of funding during this time, and our goal is to help technologies and companies get through this period, not only through the R&D funding that they get through grant funds, but also through our participation in programs that we've created at NINDS that will help companies and leadership teams to grow during this time and mature. So these programs include NIH-wide programs like I-Core and NINDS-led programs such as a peer network of neuroscience executives. We support the development of investor-facing materials, and we will also support companies in getting in front of investors and strategics through company showcase events. We were very interested in better understanding how the companies and technologies we fund were doing in terms of getting to that other side of the Valley of Death. And so we looked at the outcomes of every SBIR award funded 10 to 18 years ago now. We found that 3 out of every 10 awards funded during that time through SBIR resulted in a commercialized product. 43% of the companies we funded during that time went on to raise follow-on funding, and that averaged more than $54 million per company on average. We also are, actively track outcomes of our companies, and some of the milestones from this past month alone include Mobia MedTech's IPO earlier this month. They developed a vagal nerve stimulation technology to support motor recovery following stroke. SBR Therapeutics developed the Sprint peripheral nerve stimulation device to treat pain. Last week, this company was acquired by Medtronic for $650 million, which is one of the largest neurotech M&A deals in recent history. And Noctrix Health, who developed the Nidra neuromodulation device for treatment of restless leg syndrome, was also acquired by ResMed this month. So it's been a big month for neurotech. And so I will leave with just a note for the investors in the room that supporting NIH-funded companies can be a good bet, and we hope you'll also look at our companies as a source of investment deals, as well as our small businesses and any academics who are interested in bringing their technology through commercialization to come talk to us, and hopefully we can support you on a similar success journey as well. And that's it. And I do apologize because my travel arrangements have me, I have to leave right after this talk. But you can reach me. It's just my name. Oh, I guess we're at the next slide. You can also just search NINDS Small Business. Our team will come up. If you don't mind just putting that first slide up, you'll see me, Emily Caparello. If you just do emily.caparello@nih.gov, you'll reach me. But we're very easy to find. Our information, our contact information is publicly available on our website. And I really want to echo Linda when I say we highly encourage you to reach out to us. We will help you find the right person to talk to, and we will help you find the right funding opportunity to apply to support your technology. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Greg Grinberg from Origin Foundation.
Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. It's so great to be here at Yale for the Innovation Summit. You know, you don't have to hang out in a place like this for too long to see that magnificent breakthroughs are being made every day. But you also don't have to hang out here too long to understand that so many of them, far too many of them, never make it to patients. We're here to change that. And we includes you, if you'd like. And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by that in a little bit. Quite simply, the gauntlet that new breakthroughs face when they leave academia is unbelievably arduous. And facing that gauntlet is not something that you should have to do alone as a founder. It takes a village. And it should not fall to chance that you just happen to meet the right people along the way. You should not have to leave it to chance that you just happen to meet the right people at just the right moment. So we are a 501c3 public charity. We make grants, we make investments, and perhaps most importantly, we provide in-kind services that are free and non-dilutive to companies, not just at the beginning, but throughout your entire life cycle. We are stage agnostic, and that comes with the asterisk that the earlier the better. The earlier we find out about you, the better. Before you form your company, before you've thought about IP, before you've raised your first dollar, we want to hear from you. We are also modality agnostic, and when I say that, I mean we are truly modality agnostic. There are the usual suspects up here, drugs and devices, but maybe some things that might be a little bit surprising, like lifestyle medicine, public health interventions, and longevity. Don't get me wrong, we love the cutting edge, but something doesn't have to be technologically shiny to be a breakthrough. It doesn't have to be technologically shiny to save lives, nor to, along with that, very often save patients and payers quite a bit of money. We are modality agnostic because one life is too many to lose to any disease, and because the crisis of extremely high burden, high prevalence, devastating diseases demands nothing less. 60%, as we all know, of the working age population in the US is afflicted, and if you look at adults over 65, the number jumps up to 90%. These diseases are by far the majority cause of mortality, not just in the US, but around the world, which is why by necessity, these most prevalent diseases are our focus for now. To put it differently, these diseases lie in wait for each and every one of us, and that's, I think, why we're all here, and it's the keystone to understanding our programming. Indeed, wearing any of these hats, any of us could be doing so many other things, probably making more money with less risk and far less effort. We work closely with early stage investors. I see some of you in the room, and I know the same is true for you. It's also why our donors give us money. It's one of the reasons I think we have the best donors in the world. It's enlightened self-interest meets philanthropy. As Bill Clinton once said, selfishness and selflessness are the same thing when you understand how the world works. So that's why our scouting always starts with impact screening and scientific validation. This is where we are extremely selective. But notice on this slide what it doesn't say. It doesn't say that you should have a perfect deck. It doesn't say you should have a perfect business plan. It doesn't say you should have a can't-lose team or a brimming Rolodex of investors. We think that should be our job, as in ours with you, yours and ours. So the first, just to go into a little bit of the in-kind support we provide, the first piece of it is bringing together subject matter experts specific to, we leverage our extensive network of subject matter experts, not just, and then we handpick them. We handpick them for your particular modality in your particular disease area, for your venture. But not just to cover what you need to figure out right now, but what you'll likely need to cover throughout the entire journey to patients. In other words, our job, as we see it, is to help think through the strategy from a blank whiteboard if needed, and come up with the most capital and time efficient way to bring your breakthrough to patients. So from there, there's a natural flow. We can optimize the strategy and optimize your team. And that is what puts us in a good position to activate our network of investors as well as yours. Because I think early stage investors, as I said, are here for the impact, just like all of us. But what early stage investors also need is someone to do the scientific diligence and the business diligence. That's what we do. And our business diligence is, it's to find the flaws, and as well as the opportunities in what you're doing, but not to reject you, but to help build it better with you. It comes with ongoing subject matter expert support and some programming that I don't have time to go into to assure impact, and culminates in what we call zip lines, which are programs that we've put together where we've noticed patterns where the same types of things occur for companies across many different modalities. Here are 3 examples. It's not limited to this, but one thing that we've noticed is repurposed drugs tend to find themselves in the same predicaments with respect to IP challenges, so we have some programming dedicated for that. Direct to payer is probably the biggest one. And this is really significant because payers have an undiluted interest in having a healthier workforce. And specifically, I'm talking about employers in their capacity as payers, state agencies as well, state Medicaid agencies. But but large employers in particular, in their capacity as payers, have nothing to lose and everything to gain by using your breakthroughs to help their patients become healthier. It's a tremendous cost savings. Direct to patient is also another zip line that we call it that we can talk about offline. So in closing, I just want to share that downstairs right now, Alfred Slanitz, the CEO of Genius, one of the companies that we're supporting, is presenting on the Cell and Gene panel. It's an incredibly exciting project. I think it demonstrates why Cell and Gene is anything but dead, and I think it's springtime for Cell and Gene. We've heard here, and he is doing his research right here at Yale. We've heard from Yale faculty members who have cut incidence of preterm births by 40% with a simple clinical care innovation. We've heard from faculty on Science Hill about modular chemistry, double-ended molecules that can serve as molecular probes to activate the immune system based on proteins that are expressed only in the inside of cancer cells. These are just 3 examples, and they're the tip of the iceberg of what's going on at this university. Now imagine what the world starts to look like when you hear from leading scientists at dozens of universities around the world. For what it's worth, I believe that we can overcome the crisis of these chronic diseases. I think we can do it in our lifetimes. I think humanity has everything we need to do it. And that's not a platitude, it's a conviction that's reinforced by the breakthroughs that we hear about every day, and the subject matter experts who have lined up to join with us in assisting these breakthroughs, and by the investors who spend their hard-earned money to support these breakthroughs, and our donors as well. So together, let's make sure breakthroughs make it to patients. You can reach me here. Happy to talk offline. Thank you so much.
For our last speaker of the day, we're going to have Josh Nova from Blood Cancer United.
Okay, sorry, I'm the last one. make this quick. I'm Josh Nova. I'm a board chair at Blood Cancer United. So I think we're the only nonprofit grant-making organization speaking today. So a little bit different approach here. But first, our mission is to cure blood cancers and improve the quality of life for patients and caregivers. We fund research worldwide. We provide patients and families with lots of education and support, and we have a huge advocacy team down in Washington. So those are all important things to know about our organization. Over our many decades, we've invested over $2 billion in groundbreaking research and that resulted in some blockbuster drugs. I'm going to present. We have, I think, about 10 grant-making programs, and we have one venture capital arm inside of our organization. So there's a lot that we have on offer. But I'm just going to highlight 3 for this group right now. And I'll just sort of break it down. I'm not the scientist. I'm not on the research side, so I'm more very broad-based. So if you want to get into the details, I'll definitely hook you guys up with the right people. So the 3, let me just move this forward. Sorry about that. This is the spectrum of our grants. So the 3 programs, the first one is called SCORE. It's called Specialized Centers of Research. It's one of our largest grant-making programs. It provides up to $5 million over a 5-year period. It's really designed for multi-institutional teams, usually at research universities. And the emphasis is really on clinical translation. We want discoveries that reach patients. And the grants over this period, this large grant-making program, we've done about 71 grants. That's about $400 million since the year 2000. One of the biggest successes out of this grant program, if you're familiar with, is the CAR T cell therapy program that came out of the University of Pennsylvania with Carl June. The second program I want to highlight is the Translational Research Program. This is funding up to $750,000 over 3 years. These programs are opening up pretty soon. So the SCORE program opens up in September for applications, and this one's opening up in July. And so the Translational Research Program, this is really what we call the bridge from the bench to bedside. It funds the translational gap, novel therapeutics, correlative trial work, response resistance studies. We've given out about 898 grants since 1996 with this program, totaling $428 million. Right now we have 43 active grants out in the marketplace. And the last program I want to highlight here, and I'll talk about the Therapy Acceleration Program, which is our VC, is the ACT program, Academic Clinical Trials. This is $1 million grants over 3-year periods, also opening for applications in September. It's investigator-initiated phase 1 and 2 clinical trials addressing what we would call unmet needs in the blood cancer spectrum. The trials must be ready to enroll patients is one of the provisions here, with 3 to 6 months from the start date. We've given about 20 grants in this program. Over $20 million have been committed. About 19 of those are currently active in the marketplace. And again, this opens up in September. Universities that we're working with. Sorry, I don't have that information. And then the Therapy Acceleration Program. So all those are non-dilutive programs, right? These are grant-making initiatives into these research organizations. We do have an internal venture capital firm, VC type of fund that takes equity positions in early stage. In the beginning, that was our approach. We're sort of moving into the clinical research phase where we get involved. And we've had great success with some of those investments. What I would say about all of these programs, and what's interesting about, I think, Blood Cancer United and a lot of nonprofits that are in this space, is we do provide a huge ecosystem because we have so many studies in the marketplace. So we're always looking to kind of cross-pollinate what's going on with researchers at universities. We have tons of access to different research databases that are beneficial to the research process. So you don't just get a grant, you get a whole team behind you that's been working on this problem for the last 5 decades. So that's all I have for now. And in terms of contact, I can't believe I didn't put a contact page there, but it's www.bloodcancerunited.org. It's very easy to navigate. in terms of the grant making process. Your clickable buttons, you go up there, you fill out an application. People are very responsive in the organization. So definitely check that out. But if you need to talk to somebody directly, I'll be sticking around for a little bit, and I can definitely direct you in the right direction if you're interested. Thanks so much.